folks, Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Coming to a blog post we want to share with you, and we're reviewing today two super phones. This is going to be a great phone review comparison. Be sure to subscribe to the ChrisVossShow.com email list that we send out daily of all the cool products we do, and of course we have all the cell phone manufacturers sending us all the really cool phones that are out there. And also subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can see all the latest videos and stuff that we're doing there. We're comparing today two super phones that really rock. And one is from Verizon Wireless. This is VerizonWireless.com. It's the Motorola Razr M Droid. And it's a rocking little phone. You can go to VerizonWireless.com. Tell them Chris Voss sent you. On the Samsung, the Samsung is provided to us by AT&T.com. You can go to their website, search for their wireless products, and check out all their cool toys they have there. Thanks to AT&T for providing the Samsung S3 for us and both companies for review. So we're going to pit these two monster powerhouses against each other. It'll be interesting to see how they both perform against each other. So we benchmark, we'll test the cameras and everything else, and run it through a full thing. And in the end, it will be up to you to decide which one wins. So let's get into the specs. With the Motorola, what we're looking at on the Droid Razr M, we're looking at dimensions of 4.82 in height, 2.39 in width, and 0.33 in inches. It has a weight of 4.44 ounces. You're looking at an Android system that usually comes out of the box with 4.04 ice cream sandwich. Processor is 1.5 gigahertz dual core processor with 1 gigabytes of RAM. You're looking at 8 gigabytes internal memory. Actually, formatting capacity is less than that, of course. The memory supports up to a 32 gigabyte micro SD card that you can take and put into the back. The display is a 4.3 Super AMOLED advanced display, QHD resolution, 960 x 540. Battery is a 2000 milliamp battery. Usage time is approximately 20 hours, or standby time up to 17 days. The the camera on the back is an 8 megapixel camera. It has, of course, 1080p, the front-facing HD camera of 0.3 megapixels, 720 HD video recording out the front. Great little device, powerhouses you're going to see in our benchmarks here coming up. Now, taking a look at the Galaxy S3, let's see if we can keep that on for us. On the Galaxy S3, we're looking at a size of 5.38 inches in height, 2.78 in width, 0.34 inches in thickness. Weight is 4.73 ounces. And this thing has basically 4.0 ice cream sandwich. I believe we've upgraded this to 4.04 ice cream sandwich. We'll double check in a second for you. The display size is 4.8 inches at 1280 by 720, 306 ppi HD Super AMOLED screen with 16 million colors on it. It has a 2100 milliamp battery, up to 8 hours talk time, 8.3 days standby time, and it has an internal memory of up to 16 gigabytes, expandable memory up to 64 gigabytes with a micro SD card that you can take and put in it. Maximum RAM is 2 gigabytes in it. It has a back camera of 8 megapixels, and it also has 4 times digital zoom to it. It has a front-facing camera that's one of the best in the business, 1.9 megapixels. So you, of course, have 1080p on your back camera there to take and process all of your really cool data and all that good stuff. Now this is a US edition phone. Evidently some of the specifications in the international version are different than the US version. You can take a look at those on probably another review at another time. So let's take a look at both these devices. Like I said, we got 4.04 running on the Motorola. We want to take a look at what we're running on the Samsung, which I believe, if we've upgraded this properly, is now running on 4.04 systems. But we have so many phones running around the place, it's not even crazy. We don't even know which one's updated to what anymore. So in this case, the Samsung S3 is updated to the Android 4.04 version. There is rumor that next month in October 2012, after this recording, that it will get a Jelly Bean update. So that will be interesting to see if that ends up happening. Tune in for that. And of course, we'll be updating all of our videos at that time to that new version, as we would, of course, with the Motorola as well. Now, both these work on the Android system for OS. A little bit different in how each of them operate. You can see here that on the Motorola, if you swipe from right or left to right, you can access the quick settings, which are not on the Samsung Galaxy S3. The Samsung Galaxy S3 pretty much has a infinite swipe where you can keep going, whereas the Motorola does not in its features. Now, of course, you can go the other way from right to left, and you can go through different menus. Of course, you can add pages, much like you can with the Samsung Galaxy S3. You can get into all sorts of different things to set up your widgets and everything else that you're used to seeing. One other aspect that's very different with the Motorola Razr M is it has an animated background. You can see here different wallpapers, or what they call live wallpapers, that you can take and utilize. You can make galleries, wallpapers, post them on the back here, and you can see how it moves around. Very cool. The other thing I do like about the Motorola is it has an interesting drop and page feature for going through its apps. Watch this. You can see here that the animation kind of brings it from when you're going one way from the back forward, and then actually drops it down when you're going back the other way, giving you the impressions of a 3D sort of experience, which is kind of cool. I mean, it doesn't really have that on the Samsung Galaxy S3. One feature that the Samsung Galaxy S3 has that the Motorola does not is something called S-Voice. And S-Voice is a feature that is much like Siri is on the iOS devices, where you can call up different things, data, and all sorts of good stuff to take and get it going on. It also has wake up command, where you can say certain words, wake it up, and you can even pull it out of standby mode by saying the right command. So it's very cool that way. Of course, the Motorola does not have anything like S-Voice. It's kind of a unique feature to the Samsung product to compete with Siri. So you can check out some of our other Samsung videos to see the S video in operation. But other than that, it's pretty cool. We'll show you an example here. Wake up. Wake up. Okay, so you can see here we've woken up the device, and now it's listening to us to decide what to do. It looks like it wants me to open some videos. So you can kind of see how that works there. Now, both menus, you can see the notification menus. Nothing really special to see here. I do like the Samsung, how it has across the top all the different quick steps you can take and do. Of course, the Verizon has where you can just flip from the left to right to be able to access a lot of those different menus in there. So you can see most of how everything presents here. Across the Motorola, I believe underneath the top part, there's a small area that seems to be there for probably most likely the speaker for your phone calls. Your front-facing camera is right here. On the bottom part, you can see we have a back button, a home button, and a recent apps button, and a small microphone hole for the picking up sound. On the Samsung, kind of a small grill area for the speaker, but it works effectively. And you also have a front-facing camera there. You have a back button that's a pressable button, and you also have a sensory button for both menu and the back button for returning. What's really cool is they only light up when you touch them, so they're really great at not burning up a whole lot of the power on your battery. Let's take a look at the back of these devices here. We'll flip them over, and you can see these and how they work. Now, on the Motorola, we have the camera here, we have the flash lamp here, we have a small speaker that's right here. We were kind of surprised when we saw this, and we were a little worried that the volume of the speaker wouldn't come into play as much as we needed to. It might be muffled if we set it on a flat surface. It turns out the speaker is very loud. It does a great job of making sound, and it's not muffled in any way, shape, or form. It has this beautiful back that comes down that tapers to the back. On the AT&T Samsung Galaxy S3, we've actually added a magnetized ring to the camera, so the camera looks a whole lot nicer. on the back than what we've got here attached to it. There's a flash lamp here and this very small speaker here. I'm not real excited about that speaker, but it works effectively. This is, of course, a magnetized device that's a ring that's designed so that we can magnetize lenses onto the device. Now, nothing comes off the back here, but on the Samsung, the back does come off. And let's go ahead and pull that back off for you so you can see how everything inserts here. So the nice thing about the Samsung is you can exchange the batteries if you so choose to buy additional batteries. You've got your SIM card here, and you've got a micro SD card place where you can put that in here. So you can see how both devices utilize this data and everything else. We'll show you where you can put the micro SD card on the Motorola here in 1 second. Here along the bottom of the devices, you can see the Motorola just has a small microphone hole here on its angled cut. It comes down from tapers from top to bottom, going thicker at the top to thinner at the bottom, much like a Razr. You can see here on the charging sink area, we have micro USB for the Samsung Galaxy S3 and a small microphone hole. At the top of each device, you can see here that we have a earphone jack or earphone hole, whatever you want to call it. We also have a small microphone hole here for the Samsung S3, another place to put your fingernail to pull off the back, and a earphone jack. Okay, so looking at both these devices on the right hand side, you can barely see this probably because it flushes pretty well with it. It's a black rocker button for the volume up and down. You also have your power button here in the silver button. Nothing much to see here except the power button on the right hand side of the Samsung. I really like having the power button there. With the Samsung and the Motorola, you can see here as we flip these to the other side, the Samsung has a rocker button for your volume up and volume down. There's a small charge micro USB portal for your charging and syncing of the Motorola. And on the Motorola, of course, you can expand the memory up to 32 gigabytes. You can see here the hole card for the SIM and also the place to insert your micro SD card so that you can expand the memory. Here you can see the speed test results between both devices. You can see here that the on the Verizon network, you had the Motorola running very good download and upload, super fast. We tend to notice throughout most of its processes and trials, it performed extremely well. With the Samsung, you can see the speeds that it was running on AT&T. Now, keep in mind, we both show the Wi-Fi working here. These are from the log results that we kept after turning off the Wi-Fi, and we've since turned it back on, of course. Okay, so now here we can see the speed test results using the Motorola as a hotspot. So we've activated it as a hotspot, fed it to a iPad 3G, which will burn a lot of data if you give it to it. And you can see here the results we got from the Verizon network. So it processed a lot of really great data very quickly and very fast, as you can see here. Okay, so here we can now see the speed test that we did with the Galaxy S3. This is using the AT&T network. Like I said, we're not really trying to show the difference between the two networks, but we are trying to show the speed of the device. So you can see this here. This is running through the hosting through our iPad 3 using the Samsung S3 as a hotspot. It looks like here we're on the Motorola. We scored a 1442 against the 1376 US version of the Galaxy Samsung S3. So pretty amazing. Looks like it scored better, slightly better, 989 on the integer over the Samsung S3 of 911. Looks like a little bit edge out on the floating point. Memory still outperformed it. Stream still outperformed it. Just by slights enough to get the better score. You can see here the system information between both these devices. They have a very similar gigahertz on their devices for processors. You can see here we'll page up to the integer performance. You can see these comparisons. Of course, you can pause the video if you like. Now, one of the reasons we do use a lot of these benchmarks, and they are long, is so that you can download these apps at home. You can test them against the devices that you have at home and decide which one might work best for you in finding the best phone. So you can go ahead and process that data. Okay, so here you can see the AnTuTu benchmark 2.9.2 version, how each of these devices scored. It scored the Motorola at 6809 and 6558 for the Samsung Galaxy S3. Looks like the CPU integer was a little bit faster in their tests, and let's see, it looks like the database I/O test came in quite a bit higher, enough to make a bit of a difference there in the scores, and the CPU integer, let's see, CPU flow point got a little bit of edge, and between all of that ended up with a bit higher score in the long run. Okay, so here we have the billion counter test. You can see how long each device took to count to a billion. The Motorola did it in 24.4 seconds, 25.38 seconds for the Samsung. Okay, so overall you can see how both devices fared up. You can see that the Motorola scored a device rating of 4,706. You can see the breakdown here. You can see that the Samsung Galaxy S3 broke, let's see, 4,412, so came in a little bit less than the Motorola. Okay, so here you can see the color green tests for both devices. I'm not sure how well you're going to make this out, but I'll give you the rundown. The green looks a little bit darker and a little bit deeper and richer in the Motorola. The red's about the same. The purple is a little bit darker, a little bit, very fine. Same thing with the blue. But the green, you can definitely tell there's a difference in the color. And of course, what your preference is. Both seem to have really beautiful screens portraying both gaming and video. So you really won't notice it that much, I don't think. Okay, so here you can see we're doing an SQL test. You can see this is the RL benchmark app, and you can see here it ran a number of processes to test the device, creating indexes, etc., updates, and all that sort of good stuff. Delete with an index, all the different things that you can possibly do there. You can see here that the scores came out overall on the Motorola at 26.711 seconds at processing all that data, and overall on the Samsung took a little bit longer, 28.177. Alright, so on both these devices we ran the KFS benchmark. You can see that the Galaxy Samsung pulled a 33.305 overall frames per second score. You can see that the Motorola pulled a 37.636 score, much faster in frames per second. So very good turn-in for both those devices. Okay, so now score-wise with the Vlamo app, you can see here that the HTML5 on the Motorola scored 1691, above the Samsung Galaxy S3, which scored 1647. 550 for the Motorola for the metal benchmarking. For metal benchmarking on the Samsung S3, it actually scored higher, 577. Okay, so now you can see here how each device scored in the GL benchmark 2.5.1. The Motorola scored with 3,202 frames at 28 frames per second in the first test, 2352 frames at 21 frames per second in the Samsung, 1517 in the second test for off-screen, 13 frames per second, 1480 for the frames per second on the Samsung S3. The GL benchmark for the next step down, third one, is 2398 against 1633. For the off-screen, it's not supported on either device. You can see here the HD fixed time step scored 46,654 milliseconds, I believe that is, and 61,598 milliseconds for the fixed time step on the Samsung Galaxy S3. Of course, you see the last figures there. Okay, so now what we're looking at is we've turned on the GPS test. We're running a GPS test to see how many satellites each device takes and picks up, and also to test how accurate they can get within feet. You can see here as they're slowly gathering their data, there's 21 in use by the Motorola, 23 in use by the Samsung at this point in time, 22, 21, 18 in use, and 19 in use on the Samsung. We're getting to an accuracy of within 10 feet with the Motorola, 13 feet with the Samsung. Usually these things continue to go on. They tend to get closer. You can see there the Samsung just went to 10 feet. It looks like it's doing a great job. Both devices are doing a great job of picking up bunches of satellites, knowing where it's at on the planet. Okay, so here we can see the benchmarks on the Passmark performance system. You can see here that the Motorola scored 2037 as opposed to the Samsung 2123. For the CPU tests, the Motorola came at $53.26 as opposed to $53.49 for the Samsung. $32.46 for the disc test, $42.97 for the Samsung, $24.77 for the memory test, and $2,060 for the memory test on the S3. 2D graphics test, $20.83 against $16.04. Let's see, $17.70 for the 3D the 3D graphic test on the S3, and 3D graphic test $6.33 for the Motorola. Okay, so here we can see in both tests, these are the AnTuTu 3D ratings, 3D rating benchmark. The benchmark result was 3,637 against 2,955 for the Samsung, and the you can see the average frames per second for 3D was 13.38 as opposed to 10.3 for the Samsung. So really good numbers on both devices. Okay, so you can see here, folks, on the Motorola Razr, we came up with the AND-E benchmarking for benchmarking of threads, both native and Java. 5173 on the Motorola, 5231 on the Samsung, and 155 on the Motorola, and 162 on the Samsung. Okay, so now we've checked the web browsing benchmark status of the internet providers for, not the internet providers, but the browser speed and the ability to process the serving up pages through SunSpider JavaScript benchmarking. You can see here that the lower number, of course, is the better number that you take and want. The Motorola came in at 1849 milliseconds, and the Samsung Galaxy S3 came in at 1778 milliseconds. We tried to get a browser mark rating also for you here, but the browser mark website was crashing and wasn't processing the request. So there you are. Okay, so the Motorola's got a great camera. It's got a really fast shutter. I really enjoy using it. It's fun to play with. For some reason, it just seems to be more responsive to the camera. It's got a great screen, of course, to work from. You've got your zoom in and out. You've got your area for your albums up here. It's got most of the same menu you'd find on an Android. You've got your settings here where you can do different things with shutters and stuff like that. You've got effects that you can take and add on here. You've got scenes that you can take and do. You've got modes you can do. You've got exposure, and then you've got your flash you can control. And then what's nice is you can just swipe and get rid of this little adjustment bar here, which is really nice. And of course, you can get the focus and all that good stuff. Now you can easily switch between video and your shutter for your camera. You can easily switch from front to back, and you've got your shutter button here in both cases. It's a great little camera. I really enjoyed it. Let's take a look at some of the pictures we got. Now, one thing we really noticed about the camera, well, I'll get to that in a second. You can see here's a picture of a flower that we took. The light's a little rough during the day that we took that picture. Here's an outdoor picture that came out pretty well. Video-wise, the video comes out really well. Great blues, greens, everything is pretty much what it should be and how it works. Great camera. I mean, is it the best camera in the world? I'm not sure. You'd have to do some comparison testing, but it's a good camera. Now, this is one thing we always do. We always shoot my floor because some cameras jack up the yellow, blues, and greens to artificially adjust the brightness in the pictures and make them look like the pictures are cooler. This actually takes an accurate picture of the colors on my floor. What's even cooler is the video also takes an accurate picture also. So we're very impressed by that it's not having its software manipulating its colors. The low light pictures of camera, this is taken completely in the dark with the flash. You can see here it takes a great photo without blowing out the photo. One thing we were super impressed with, and I started talking about this earlier, is its low light lamp ability. It has a brilliant lamp on it that takes great dark pictures. This is completely in the dark, and you can see it does a great job of lighting up not only the local area really close, but pretty much the whole area that we were working in. So we were really surprised that something as thin and small has that great of a lamp. So really blown away. You can hear me say wow on the tape there. So yeah, great little camera on the Motorola. I was very impressed with it. Be sure to check that out on the deal. Okay, so now let's take a look at the camera
on the Galaxy S3. Okay, now what we have is a lot more customization you can do in adjusting your shots on the S3 in the Android product. Of course, this is what it's largely based upon. So there's a lot more you can do in adjusting the ISO settings and everything else on your camera with the Galaxy S3 over the iPhone 5. Many people love that. They love having the control over their features and the ability to pre-control their shots, if you will, instead of post-editing with apps as you would do on the iOS products. So let's take a look here. You've got your, of course, here on the right-hand side, your ability to switch between video and taking a camera shot. You also have your shutter button here, and you have in the bottom right your albums, if you will, or photo area. On the upper right or the upper left hand side, you have your ability to switch between front facing, rear facing camera. You can adjust if you want an auto flash or the flash turned on. This is what I'm talking about partially in where you have more control of a shot. You can do burst shots with the Samsung Galaxy S3, and what's great is it can do a set of burst shots, and you can decide which ones you like the best and erase the other ones, or you can continuously shoot very fast. You've got HDR, face detection, smile, beauty, panorama, all this sort of good stuff that you can do with the Samsung. Let's take a look at a few of the things here. There's different editors you can put and take and use to edit what your photos are going to look like ahead of time here, which is really nice. And what's really great is it will show you those that edit before you take the photo, or what the photo will look like during the time you're taking that photo with that edit. So that's very cool. A lot of people love that, and the iOS product you can't really do that. With settings, you can see here all the different ways that you can make settings for the Galaxy Samsung S3. You can adjust flash, shooting mode, scene mode, which is interesting. You can do several different scenes: portrait, landscape, night, sports, all these different ones. This is pretty standard for the Android OS product and gives you a whole lot more customization that you can take and do that you can't do on the iOS. Did I say Android product? If I got that wrong, that's fine. Timer effects you can see here that we can see there. We'll go back into settings. You can adjust your resolution up and down. You can also adjust white balance, ISO, metering that you might want to do, anti-shake, auto contrast, image quality, a whole lot of customizable things that you can do that you can't do with the iOS product. Let's switch over to video, and you'll see much of the same is true here. You've got different ways that you can actually limit stuff for text messaging, recording modes. You can create different settings, of course, for your images, like we talked about before, and you, of course, have the ability to control resolution, white balance, all that good stuff, video quality, and where you store it. You can store it, of course, on the micro SD card that you can take and use for this device, where in the case of the iOS product you cannot do that because it doesn't have an expandable memory.
Okay, so the camera on the S3 takes really great pictures. We've been really happy with them and the results. It takes very beautiful pictures, rivals some of the iOS product. Video comes out very well. It's a great camera that's on the S3, so we like it a whole lot. It takes great pictures. As we mentioned, you can see some of them here. It takes really good video, where you can see some of the processes of video here. In flash situations, this is a flash situation where we've taken a photo in a completely dark setting and shot the flash. You can see here the picture comes out very well. We'll blow it up for you here. Look at a little bit of blowback of the top area here against this glossy box, but other than that, came out with a great photo. Really illuminated not only the foreground but the background really well. Same thing with the video camera. This is in a low light situation or completely dark situation, and we're using the lamp, of course, on the video player, but you can see how well this lights up the background and does a great job. Very impressed with the photo capabilities on the S3, so it's great that way. Okay, so in the end, we love both phones. The Samsung S3 has become a very favorite phone of mine, competing very heavily with the iPhone 4S. Now with the launch of the iPhone 5, the iPhone 5 is out benchmarking the US version of the Samsung Galaxy S3. I definitely love the iPhone 5, but with the Samsung, I love the giant screen and the S voice and some of the other features that are there. So it's a great phone in that aspect. The Motorola is awesome, as you saw in its benchmarking test, and performs extremely well over the Samsung S3. It's a rockin' little phone. I wish it had a bigger screen, especially for the performance that it gives out. That would definitely rock. I love some of the animations and some of the really cool things. The thinness and smallness of the phone and the power that's inside of it make it a lot of fun. So I love both phones. They're definitely rocking. You can decide which one you like best for yourself. You go to Verizon Wireless and see the Motorola Razr M Droid phone. Tell them Chris Voss sent you. VerizonWireless.com. For the Samsung Galaxy S3, go to AT&T.com. That's AT&T.com. Be sure to check out all their wireless devices. Chris Voss tested, Chris Voss approved. Tell both companies Chris Voss sent you, and we certainly appreciate it. Be sure to check in to subscribing to the email list for the ChrisVossShow.com and subscribing. Hit the subscribe button on our YouTube videos so you get all the latest videos that you can see on all the latest coolest phones. We're hooked up with all the major phone companies, and they are sending us phones, so you want to watch for the next newest coolest toys that they'll be sending us. Thanks for coming by the ChrisVossShow.com and spend some time with us. Be sure to check out our other videos, especially our iPhone 5 videos, a comparison, and see you next time.